But you can't scale and you can't grow by just getting more money just by growing and just getting bigger. Getting bigger doesn't fix the problems, does it?
Welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast, the show for clinic owners who want real, honest advice and tried and tested ways of doing things. I'm Katie Bell, and this is the new era of bigger insights and bolder conversations to help you grow a clinic and a life you love. Let's dive in.
Janice, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Katie. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You are welcome. You are back again.
I am back for a second time. How exciting.
I love this. This means we love you and listeners love you, Janice. And some of them will have met you actually in person for the very first time at Clinic Growth Live. You were there as one of our exhibitors.
Wow, yeah. And it was great to see everyone.
Yeah, I know. It was so nice, wasn't it? And Janice, we just say you're the numbers girl. Like, that's the spreadsheet woman. If you need spreadsheets, if you need clarity on numbers, just ring Janice. Just speak to Janice.
I'll take that badge every week.
So, for those who don't know you, Janice, just briefly introduce yourself and tell people why I call you the numbers gal and the spreadsheet gal.
So I spent many formative years in corporate IT consulting, doing all sorts of systems implementations and big teams and big companies and all the rest of it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And then time took me overseas for quite a while with my young family. And while I was there, I wasn't allowed to work. My spouse was working. And I thought, what am I going to do now then? Got kids and stuff. So I started to help various charities with their numbers. I was treasurer, I was event planner, things like that. And it was all about the numbers and what they meant and what they were doing and how we were tracking and things like that. So then we came back to England and kids back in school. What should I do now? I thought, well, a bit more of that then. And it's gradually just started helping small businesses with what numbers have you got? What do they mean? How are you tracking them? How's it helping you see what's happening in the business? You might want to grow, you might not want to grow, you might want to go to exit. There's all sorts of things you might want to know your numbers for. One phrase I've heard recently is I want to be Dragon's Den ready.
I want it.
Yeah. I just thought, so I started helping small businesses. I started to get involved with some clinics and then more clinics and then met folks like your good self. And so here I am. My niche is asking about Jane, Clinico, TM3, the reporting, the numbers, what they all mean. How do you bring that together with Zero? How do you get it to tell you what's going on?
Yeah. And that's the biggest. There's a lot of pain points that our clinic owners have and our studio owners. And lots of it boils down to, for many of us, we bury our head in the sand when it comes to knowing our numbers, or we get lost in the reporting world and we click on a button and then the next 2 hours go by and you're down a rabbit hole. You've got all these wonderful reports, but they mean nothing. You don't know how to read them. You then struggle to make decisions and review and adjust and pivot what you need to do based on what your numbers are telling you. So we know that when we speak to a lot of the clinic owners, this just going with a bit of a winging it kind of attitude. God love them all. I was there in that position as well, where rather than the data driving your decisions, it was very much, I've seen people do this, or this kind of feels good, or this feels nice, I'm going to go out and be distracted by this. And it wasn't ever hugely strategic or with a plan. Mm-hmm. And so, Janice, you are the person that puts the strategy in, or gives the clinic owners and the studio owners the visibility on the numbers, an explanation of what they need, why they need it, and how often they need to be reviewing it, and then how that drives better decisions in their businesses. Is that right?
That's right. It's all about, yes, there's all this data out there, and it's all about how do you focus it in the right direction so that it's telling your story, because every clinic's unique. Yes, there's the common ground, but every clinic's unique about what is your strategy? What do you sell? How do you deliver it to your patients? And all that can come down to how you measure what's going on, how you review it when you review it, and then most importantly, what you do about it.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't just go, oh, that was a good month. Should we go and have a cup of tea? It's like, it was a good month. What do you mean it was a good month? Good month against what benchmark?
Yeah.
Why was it a good month? What did you sell? What did you not sell? What did you spend on? What did you not spend on? And it's getting down to those nitty gritty details so that you have scheduled time to review something and you take an action to say, okay, because this happened, I want to do more of that. And I
Yes.
want to do less of that.
Yeah.
Because we know nothing changes if nothing changes. So even if it is, oh, good, let's go and have a cup of tea, you need to understand why it was good,
Yeah.
or you need to carry on doing what you're doing. And how do you do that? Because it might be that one person who's doing a fantastic job is about to leave. They're going on sabbatical, they're going on maternity leave, they're going on somewhere else. And you bring somebody else in and they'll behave it differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need to make sure you've got training, handover, standard operating procedures. That's an action you need to take to make sure that those methods that you know are producing the right answer are going to continue.
And
it's not just relying on luck.
And I guess with all of that, Janice, it's then the bigger thing there is knowing actually what you're trying to achieve in the first place. So the numbers have to be measured against something, don't they? Because all of that sounds great, but you need to get up on the 1st of June and know what you need to be working towards. What's your revenue target? What's your profit target? So that, again, your decisions are driven by something rather than just, let's just see how the month finishes.
Absolutely. So I model an approach where you measure what's going on, and we could talk about that till the cows come home. We can go into that. But then you need to review, and you need to have a schedule for when you're going to review the data and adjust. So if we look at that review piece, I recommend that there are 3-4 phases of review. And number 1 is the annual review.
Okay.
Then there'd be monthly and weekly as your core one, but say the 4th is quarterly. I'll explain what I mean by that. So the annual review for me is where you look back at the year gone by. So it's normally coming up to year end, and you look at the year gone by and you look at what your measurements told you. So you've got your very top level. What was your turnover? What were your costs? What were your profits? And just for the sake of simplicity, I'll talk about operating costs. So we're not getting into dividends and loans and blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about just operating costs. And that's your top level. It's your turnover, your costs, and your profit. And you'll see what happened. And let's say, for argument's sake, I don't know, your turnover was 200k. And you're looking at the year ahead and go, I want to make 250. And you go, okay. So then the target for the year, the goal for the year is 250k.
Yeah.
I want to make a 20% profit margin on that. So that's your profit margin, which gives you your spend limit. Okay. So you've got a goal of a turnover, a goal of a profit, and a goal of how much you want to spend.
Sure.
And then you've got, okay, last year I made 200k. This year I want to make 250. So what is my strategy? What is going to make the difference of that 50k in turnover? So you've got your goal of 250. What's the strategy? So you're going to have more staff. You're going to have a different service. You're going to have a different price. What is the strategy to achieve that difference? And then the same for the costs, because if your profit margin from the year before is the same, then you've got to make sure that your costs don't go up more than what your turnover is going to go up, because your profit won't change. And that triangle you have to keep the same in order to get your goals all aligned. So with costs, then what I suggest you do, and with the turnover, is that set from your goal, what I would call the top brain limits.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, okay, now start at the bottom, go for each staff based on how many days of the week they work, hours of the week they work, what they charge for the services they do. And you go, okay, if they have this target for each month to sell this many at this price, their revenue is going to be this. And you do that for each one and for each location, and you roll it all up and you go, has that made my goal?
Yeah.
That come up to my 250. So that's where your goal and then your plan applying your strategy, do they match? and do the, if there's a gap, then you need more strategy of how you're going to make up for that. And then the same thing goes with the costs, is you've got to start at the bottom. How much rent do I pay? How much service charge do I pay? How much payroll they've got to pay? How much commissions have I got to pay? How much uniform, which you've got the history of from the year before. Is that going to change? Is it going to come up?
Yeah.
Apply that to your budget, roll it all up. Is that still below my spend limit? Am I still going to get the profit I want? And then what you've got there is where you've got them hopefully not going over, coming under. You've got your goals, you've got your strategy of how you're going to achieve it, and you've got your plan of how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because you've got a low level detail.
I guess that's the annual review is the one thing that most clinic owners don't do and do in enough detail and in ahead of time. So rather than go, okay, I'm going to wait for the year end, I'm going to wait for my P&L back from my accountant, which tells me whether I've made money or not made money. And then I'm going to go, oh, what should we do this year? We want to be talking about your year end. We are often doing ours usually 6 to 8 weeks out of year end, because we can project what 6 to 8 weeks are going to look like because we have enough visibility on our data. And I know enough to know that we'll probably end about this position.
Yeah.
So
that's where the quarterly one comes in, because I'd say you do your year end. If you'd have your main numbers by then, by let's say you do January to December. So I've done it in November, end of October, November, get it all lined up. So that has given you from January onwards, how much revenue do you want to make in a month? By person, what do you want to spend in a month? By specific thing.
Yeah.
You've got it down to that low level of detail. And then each month you monitor how you're doing against that.
Yes.
And see if you need to change in it. And then what I'd say is each week you need to check that month's projecting as you wanted it to. But then when you get to the quarter, is you go, okay, now let's just take a step back. Is this strategy working?
Yeah.
Has that quarter achieved what I want to? Or do I need to do a sort of mini annual review and look at the next 3 quarters ahead? Do I need to change strategy? Do I need to employ another? Do I need to add another service? What other thing do I need to do to get me back onto this track that I want to be on?
And I guess with that sort of visibility and that sort of projection, it allows our business owners to hire slower and think and plan for the hire. You know, when we bring somebody in KB, we know that it takes definitely up to 6 months really to get somebody, because by the time you've gone through the recruitment process, they often need to give 8 to 12 weeks notice. So you've got another 3 months before they're going to start with you. And then when they start with us, we project in what their occupancy capacity, whatever you want to call it, is going to be on a build. So we know that we're not setting ourselves up for failure, saying we're going to start and I need to get them at 85% occupancy a month. It's not going to happen. If it does, fabulous, but let's project that into the numbers so that we can onboard them in the right way, not apply too much pressure from the beginning, get all of the foundations in place. So I guess there's so many, we know, Janice, there's so many reasons why projecting and planning is so critical. And many clinic owners still feel like it's just a bit of a waste of time, or they feel like it's a job that they don't want to do, or they've never done it before, so why would they start doing it now? But you can't scale and you can't grow by just getting more money just by growing and just getting bigger. Getting bigger doesn't fix the problems, does it?
No. And that's the thing, is that you've got to have that separate thought time, like say at the end of the year, where you do all that thinking, you put all your seasonality onto your goals, you plan it all out, and you go, perhaps I know I'm going to have a week of December, so I'm going to plan for more in January. So you plan all that out, and then those are the targets. That's your target pair. That's what you're looking to compare all your measurements against going forward. And then each month when it comes to that review, you're talking half an hour or an hour, not sitting to think about what was it am I trying to achieve again? And you end up doing all that energy a month. No, that is a weight. That's a big, heavy weight each month for you to be thinking, what was good? What was I in? What was that? What was my strategy this month? What was I introducing again? What were my thoughts? You do that once in one big energy session where that's what you're, and then when you come to executing it, your energy is on is achieving those goals, doing what you do best as driving the clinic.
And does this help, Janice, with many of our listeners are overwhelmed, right? They feel extremely busy day to day. They feel like they're spinning a lot of plates and just firefighting. When data drives decisions, this allows you to cut through all the, excuse my French, as a sweat, the crap and the bullshit, and go, hang on a minute. What are we actually needing to do here month on month, week on week, quarter on quarter? Have I just got distracted and got busy doing a whole load of other stuff that actually isn't driving us towards the key goals of revenue, profit, and that's it, and take home?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that, at the end of the day, is what is important, that you are focusing the drive towards that, not looking at which road am I going on. You know what I mean? Like, you've got on the motorway, get your foot down and let's just go. Not think, oh, am I getting off here? Am I getting off here? Really taking energy away from the focus of where you are going. So that's why it's two separate exercises, rather. Review part is so important to schedule in your routine. And let's face it, clinic owners, it's probably not their bag. It's probably not their favourite thing that they want to do.
No.
So you block out a half day or a day with someone at your year end to map all this out with you. And then you block out at least 1 hour a month, if not to review your month end against that target. And somewhere in your team, perhaps not you, but somewhere in your team, week on week, is looking at, okay, I know I need to get to 20K this month. What have I done this week? What have I done this? How's it looking? Because if you get to the end of the month and you've only made 15, there's no point crying over spilt milk. Right? You need to do something today on the 8th, not on the 28th. So you need that granularity and you need that routine. It's just in the diary. It's a routine. It's a checkbox. It's what you do. And you take that heavy energy away from it by planning in those review schedules.
And I think what's a really nice thing when this happens, Janice, and it can feel uncomfortable to start with, but whether you're a sole trader or whether you've got a multiple team, multiple location, whatever it is, you can cut so much stuff out. You can go, okay, what are the numbers telling me? What's worked well? What hasn't worked well? What's felt heavy? What's not felt aligned? What do I not want to repeat of? And therefore, you can, as you just said, you can then adjust your course early enough to stop those things from happening, or to just stop doing it and just stop diluting yourself and really focus in on what is profitable. What many clinic owners, Janice, when they first start working with us, are alarmed at what services are actually not making any margin. And they're often the services that feel heaviest, that feel hardest to market, that don't really align with their niche or their speciality. And they're just a dilution, but they care about the person that's on this bloody 60% commission and whatever.
Yeah.
And actually the numbers start telling us, if you just got rid of that, you'd be no worse off.
Yeah. And this is where the measure element comes into play. Okay. Making sure you've got this set up correctly. So most of they'll have some form of practice management software.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote sort of Jane and Clinico because they're the most popular ones. And the key thing is when you get those in your clinic is set them up how you run your clinic, because these are just generic software packages. They're built to support any clinic going. So unless you do the settings to what's right for you, is you won't have that granularity. So like you said, is make sure each of your services is badged correctly in whatever way you can badge it. So in Jane, you can set it to disciplines. So then you can report revenue by discipline. One of the ones nearly all of them do is income category. That's really important to set up. So have things like each treatment type that you set up, have it set to an income category, be it private physio, insurance physio. That's really important. I'm coming up to that. Massage, rehab, insurance add-ons. Every clinic has its own unique spin. But set up those income categories in while you're thinking about setting them up. And when you've got your admin staff, whatever, setting them up, you go, these are my 5 categories. And I would say never have more than 5, because if you do, it's too diluted.
Yeah.
You don't have enough data to make it a reasonable measure. But then you can go into Jane and you can say, Jane, sales, income category, this. And you can see, and then you can see by each month, you can say report last month, and it will show you by income category which one has made the most money.
So what I'm hearing from you here, Janice, is that most of us have got software to support us, but we're not utilising the software or we're not setting it up from the get-go or adapting it as our clinic grows and our business expands. We need to adjust. We need to review the data and make sure the data that we're actually collecting is relevant, is useful, and we're not just collecting it for the sake of it.
Exactly. And it's got to be, like, say, relevant, as you say. So as things change, actually, I'm going to change that to that discipline. If I've got a strategy, I've got a new service coming in as my strategy to make my extra 50K this year, give that its own income type. And you can see month on month, run your report on Clinico that says, it's this new strategy has made me this month. Yeah. It's all about just setting those settings. And all the help pages are great in these things. Just go in and look for it. The problem is it's not going to jump out and tell you. You have to drive. So make sure it's the dog wagging the tail, not the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
And there's another side to this, which is the quality of the data as well, is just to make sure that everybody who's inputting data understands the process you want them to follow to get these measurements out of your software, because everybody could do it all a bit differently, because that's what it seems to look like on the screen, and you'll just end up with a mishmash of data that doesn't mean anything. Consistent processes of how you want someone to book an appointment in, what appointment type you want them to use, whether they arrive or complete the appointment at the end is really important, because you get things like a Clinico report will only tell you things from arrived appointments or attended appointments, whichever its phrases. I think James arrived, Clinico's attended. So again, that comes down to the process. Yeah. All your team are all following the same process, which comes down to your standard operating procedures, your onboarding procedures. It's all this operational stuff that if you just get it all ticking over, each cog just joins to the other, and it produces good quality, detailed data that tell you, is your strategy working?
So Janice, I love everything that you just said. Our clinic owners talking colours. I'm a yellow. I know 100%, Janice, you are a green.
Yes.
I know that before, but I'm guessing that you are, and you definitely are green, right? Most of our clinic owners are going to be listening to this, and they are yellows. They are visionaries. They are low detail, but they like the information, but they don't necessarily want to be the ones that have to produce it. So I know how easy and quickly you can get into this overwhelmed and frozen state as a clinic owner. So you mentioned the word standard operating procedures, literally want to run and hide, can't bear them. I banned Nicola from talking to me about them because they bore me so much. I have a Nick and I have a U, which means that I just know that stuff is happening. So that's great. But for many of our listeners, they don't have a U and they don't have a COO in their business. And so what I'm really passionate about, Janice, is when people come on this podcast and listen to us and give us their time, and you give your time, is that they don't just get frozen now in this kind of state of, oh my God, this all sounds great and I'm doing some of it, but I'm not doing some of it. And I don't know where to start because now Janice has said I need SOPs for all these different types of processes. And I know my reception team are not inputting things correctly and I'm having to check that. And they now listen and they go, oh, that sounds great. I must go and do something about that. And then we freeze and we don't necessarily then actually take any action. So apart from, Janice, just getting on the phone to you and outsourcing this, which is what I would do, what's the first thing that they start with? Is it booking that review time in?
I think yes, because you will have something recorded. So it's having your review time that you are at least taking a look at it. And there's two things. For you, it's giving you a window where, okay, it might not be my favourite thing to do, but I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the team, it shows you're looking.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yes.
And that is as important as you absorbing it. Because suddenly, if they go, oh no, I can't bother doing that, they go, hang on a minute, this is important.
Yeah.
If it's worth an hour of my time every week or every month or whichever one I'm going to do it. So if you've got like a practice manager, strong practice manager, they can do a lot of those settings for you because they'll probably greens, they'll be happy to set it up. And there's probably reasonable stuff in there. But for you as the business owner is literally go into Jane or Clinico, look at the revenue, just look at the revenue and just, it will give you some breakdown. And then you go, do I believe this? And if you don't believe it, start clicking on the why is that? Why is that? Because it will show you day to day.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you want to go through all that, and that would be really tedious, but that's the point where you would just go to your receptionist. If you've got half an hour this afternoon, that says we've got this revenue today, but I think it's this. Can you go and check it and tell me what the answer is?
Yeah.
So you've got a start point
Yeah.
to start believing in what it's telling you. And I would say you start with the revenue.
And I guess it just builds that picture up for those that maybe aren't looking or just are winging it. If we then come into lots of our members are taking this great action, because this is what we teach them in the foundations and in Elevate, that they've got to know the numbers. It's one of our key things that they have to pull their head out the sand and get really clear on. I guess for them, I think what often is missing is the review element of it. It's the, okay, I've got them now, but I'm now either gone down a rabbit hole and I'm looking at too much. And so on a recent live day, Janice, I made everybody dress in a Hawaiian theme with, what are those things? Flower garland things.
Yes, yeah.
Because I said, if you were on a desert island and a man on a rowing boat rowed to you every day with a pina colada or your drink of choice and 7 numbers, and those 7 numbers were what you could only see those 7, what 7 would they be? And what are they? They have to tell you whether or not your business is good. So what are the 7 key numbers? Not 10, not 20, just 7. And then we had to whittle it down to 5. And it was a really interesting task. But what it got people seeing was, A, I'm looking at way too many numbers that are slightly irrelevant. Or I'm looking at them, they're not irrelevant, but I'm not taking any inspired action because I'm not looking at them. Or I'm nowhere near 7 numbers. I'm not even looking at 1 number. And whatever stage that you're at, it's okay, because we're not taught this stuff in business school, because none of us in business school. But that's where we want them to take some action off the back of listening to this. It's like just feeling in control of your numbers is very helpful at helping you sleep at night when you're running a business and not feel so panicky and not make decisions from a place of panic.
Yes.
It's important, isn't it?
It is. And I would say the key thing to take away the panic element is the target. So just know your target for each month, turnover, cost, profit. In fact, the profit comes from the turnover and the cost.
Yeah.
So you've got to know that for each month, because from that you'll know what you've got to save for tax, which is the other thing, panic.
Yeah.
So the 2 on is the turnover and the cost. From that, you get your profit and an estimate, just to guess, conservative guess, you've got to save for tax. And once you've got that for every month, and then you just measure the turnover and costs against, that's where you get to know, am I on it? Am I not? Is my strategy working or not? Yeah. In terms of action, that's where it gets more detailed, because if you think of I think of it as like tipping scales to affect turnover. There's so many factors.
So many levers.
Same with the cost. So you can take action at the bottom level levers. Yes, I've got all my detailed little tools that will tell you all the levers in between. But at the end of the day, you've got to think, okay, what levers change? But what I would plead that you put some structure on is change one thing at a time.
Yes.
You might not have time to do that. So I'm going to add this service, I'm going to up the price for that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change this cost. Because what you might find is they just balance each other out, and you go, I've made all these changes and there's no difference.
Yeah. Well, it's been really busy. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say is pick the one or two things on maybe either side of the equation and just make sure you have a measure of that to track. So that one lever. So be it the appointment price for a massage or the commission rate for this group of therapists. That is a lever one that you can see what's the effect at the top level.
And Janice, what I know from working with clinic owners for a long time now is that there's often some small tweaks that can be made in current state. It's not about adding new stuff. It's about tweaking what currently is going on. And that small percentage change can be where your profit sits. So I guess to summarize, it's don't go away feeling overwhelmed at this, that you need to change a lot of stuff. This is about very small tweaks, but the numbers will tell us what you need to do. The numbers will tell you how you spend your time, what you can stop doing, what you can focus on, when you focus on it. That's the power of numbers, isn't it?
It is exactly. And it is make changes, but make measured changes, one thing at a time. And you can see the results and the ripple effect of the results. And just pick that in Jane or Clinic or whatever that's showing you that number and that you can see how it is getting on week. Yeah. And that's just all about, I'm always a fan of saying, long should something take? If I've got to do something I don't like, is that right? What's the maximum purgatory I'm going to put myself through to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Right, that's an hour. So I'm going to block that, my diary, right, 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, I've got to do that. And at 10 o'clock, it means I can have the best cup of coffee in the world. Yeah. And it's just putting that time in to look at it and go, has the change I've made making the difference I wanted to make?
Amazing. Janice, because I'm really encouraging our listeners to act like a CEO, act like a business owner, not a clinician or an operator, what I would do in this scenario is I would outsource this because I am not the right person for this task. How do they contact you, Janice? How do they explore how you can help them as a fractional kind of COO in their business or CFO really in their business? How do they reach out to you?
So best way is just go to my website. It's just janicecook.co.uk. Nice and easy. I am on Facebook and Instagram for those in the social world and on LinkedIn. But yeah, just go to my website. There's a contact page. You can just ping me a message there. You could email me very simply. It's janice@janicecook.co.uk. And I'm just very open to having a chat with anybody. And yeah, shut me up if you can. We'll get to the root of your problem and just see what it is the best avenue for you in your circumstances to track what you need to track.
Amazing. Consider it done. Consider it done. Janice, you've been amazing. Thank you. You've given so much value and so many nuggets for people to really go away and act upon. I'm not going to say think about. I'm bored of people saying, oh, a lot to digest there, Katie, a lot to think about. No, stop thinking, start doing is what we want in clinic owners to do. Janice, will you come back again?
I will. I'm always happy to come and chat.
You were fabulous. Thank you ever so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Treat Your Business podcast. Hit subscribe now and keep joining me for bigger insights, bolder conversations to help you build a clinic and a life you love.